What's going on, guys? Jeff back with another video. Well, today I got a really cool custom for you. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and I finally just got the parts in from Cotswold Collectibles to finish this video. It's my Super Joe Dragon figure, featuring a head sculpt by Grunga toys, an outfit by Loucoporbonecos, and some sneakers from Dragon Models. I really hope you enjoy this as much as I did doing it. So without further ado, let's go back to the shop and check out this custom. And stick around towards the end of this video. I have a really cool photo story. What's going on, guys? Well, today's project is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be a basic figure build using this Max Steel Ultra Action body. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Max Steel line, it was made by Mattel in the late 90s. It was a really cool line, very well conceptualized for kids to play with. My nephews had a lot of Max Steel stuff, and I always enjoyed playing with them. They actually made a super articulated figure, probably one of the first companies to make a super articulated figure, or mainstream companies. And this is probably one of my favorite super articulated figures. It's a very robust figure. If you're not familiar with it, it's strong, it's durable, and it has a lot of really good posability. I always liked this figure, and I eventually would come to retrofit a G.I. Joe head upon it and use it for my Super Joe custom line. But today we're going to make ourselves a new figure utilizing this cool Max Steel fully posable Ultra Action figure. This head that I just got from Grunga Toys via Cotswold Collectibles. It's basically based on the Bruce Lee head sculpt. Looks very similar to Bruce Lee. Super cool. And we're going to use a couple Cotswold Collectibles fist hands. Now the plan is simple: to take the head, retrofit it to the top of the Max Steel body, and insert these pegs, hand pegs, into the arms to make it all work fluidly. If you've seen my muscle body shorts and how I've done, or not my muscle body, I'm sorry. If you've seen my photo shorts on how I did the Super Joe figures, you know I just basically use a muscle body neck post, and it retrofits to the Max Steel body almost perfectly. And I've taken the opportunity to cast these. They're not perfect casts. They work for what I'm doing, so that's what I'm going to use. Mount it to the head. The hands are going to be a little trickier because in the past what I've done is I've taken the arms on the Max Steel Ultra Action and cut along the glue seam and split the arms, pulled the hands out, then retrofitted new hands back in. But today I'm going to try something a little different. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the hands and try to drill out the remaining peg portion. And I'm just going to take some styrene tubing that I have here and sand it out. Well, actually, that's not the right diameter. I have some other styrene tubing that's a bigger diameter, but I was going to take it and sand it out and kind of insert a sleeve into there so I can swap hands out. That's the plan. Whether it goes that way or not, I guess we'll find out. So that's the plan for this figure. Hopefully it's a pretty simple custom. And at the end, I have Loucoporbonecos Bruce Lee inspired jumpsuit to throw on this guy. Side note, I know I mentioned this head from Grunga Toys via Cotswold Collectibles. I know a lot about Grunga Toys only from Cotswold carries a lot of their items. I think they're out of Brazil. And I think that they were, at least the people that run it, or the person that runs it, I don't really know a lot about them, but I have this feeling that they were affiliated with Loucoporbonecos at one time, because a lot of the Grunga toy stuff that's being sold now by Cotswold is almost just like the Loucoporbonecos jumpsuits that were sold. So I kind of feel like they were they were in with Felipe, but I don't really know for a fact. If anybody does know, feel free to leave a comment and get me up to date on it. So we'll pause the video, we'll come back, and we'll talk about how we're going to remove the existing portions of this figure that we're going to swap out. Alright, welcome back, guys. So, first things first, we'll have to remove the head and we'll have to remove the hands. So, to do the head, I just take a heat gun and heat this head up and pop it off the post that sits in there. The hands are a little trickier. I'll probably just cut the hands out with a pair of pliers and then cut this peg portion off, and then just take a small drill bit or a Dremel and just start hollowing that out until I can get it all cleared out to make room for a sleeve for those hands. Like I mentioned in the past, I've always cut along the glue line and popped that out. That was before I really thought a lot about how I wanted to do this stuff. So that's what we plan on doing. We'll get the heat gun all heated up. It's just a gun for removing paint. You got to be careful when you do it. You don't melt the plastic on the chest, so I just kind of do it waves until the head's pliable enough to pop it off. And then I'll get these hands removed and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. You don't need, I would show you on video, but let's be honest, if you can't figure it out, what's the point of doing it, right? There's a lot of different ways to go about doing it. So if you know your way around a pair of pliers and a razor knife, you can do it. So we'll go ahead and pause the video and I'll come back with those parts removed. Okay, welcome back, guys. So I've taken the head off. You can see the neck post for these Max Steel figures is a real pain in the butt too. Pretty crazy design by Mattel, but it works. It keeps the head on pretty tight. I've cut the pegs off and the residues left in there, so the only thing I have to do now is find my piece of styrene that I'm going to use for the sleeves and just drill that out. Now the neck, I've got to obviously take it off. There's one or two ways you can do that, actually. You can take a set of pliers. Let me show you what I use. I just use these basic jeweler's pliers. You can cut it off, and then you can slowly cut out the rest of the neck post and then kind of get it small enough so it just falls out. Or if you want, you can just cut it and leave it. Now the only part about leaving it is you're going to have a rattle in your figure, and you probably don't want that. So I try to remove all of it. So I'll go ahead and I'll pause the video and I'll get this neck post removed and show you what that looks like, and we can actually come back and mount the neck post as well. Okay, guys, welcome back. So as you can see, I've taken the mount for the Max Steel head out. Just a little bit of damage to the neck, which is pretty common. It'll be hidden by the neck post. Here's the Max Steel head. Don't know what I'll do with it. Just throw it in the spare junk pile and see what I can do with it later on. Now, some people use elastic cord like this to mount heads. It really works well on muscle bodies and the Action Man body, but it doesn't work very well on the Max Steel bodies. It's just this knob here is just a little too wide. So what I've always done with these is I've taken some zip tie and made like a C in it, and then I just make it so you can pull it through, and that's how we'll mount it. So you can see here I got that piece of styrene that goes through there, and we'll just slide that through here like so. And there you go. That's how I do all my Super Joe bodies, in case you're curious. And then I fish this zip tie back through and loop it. Pull it down pretty tight. There you go. So it just sits on like that. You don't have to get it super tight. Then we'll take our jeweler pliers, as I like to call them, and cut them off. So there's your mount. Pretty simple. This is what I do with all my bodies like this. So that was pretty easy. Now, the hand pegs is going to be a little more difficult, I think. I got to dig out some styrene. I had a piece I wanted to show you guys, but I can't find it right now. So we're going to pause this video while I get my head out of my ass, and I'll find that styrene and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Alright guys, welcome back. So I found what I was looking for. So I have this styrene tubing. I think it's either 3/16 maybe. Tried to find the package, but I can't remember. Anyways, it's just the right diameter for this vintage style hand peg to fit in. Now, it's very tight, so what you got to do is just take a small cylindrical file such as this and just work your way around the inside and thin that wall out a little bit. Might have to do it a few times until you can get the hand to fit in there nice. So what I'll end up doing is I will take this hand and I'll drill this out a little bit to fit this piece in, and then glue that peg in and countersink it in to the hand a little bit. So when our hand goes in here, you'll have the hand sit in the socket so it looks nice and clean. Now, I'll check the drill bit size and see what I've got to do to get that in there, and I'll get this hole drilled out. And then I'll mount one on video here to show you how I'm going to do it. And then I'll just do the second one off camera because I think it's pretty much self-explanatory at this point. We'll be right back. Alright guys, welcome back. So, we've got the hands all finished. Now what I did, as you can see the fists are in the sockets. I'll pop them out and let you take a look at what I did. So, there's a couple different options I wanted to go over on these Max Steel Ultra Action bodies. This first socket here, I actually popped the arm loose. So I took it apart, and then I took and put the styrene in with mill putt and putted it around it and let it set up. That's one way to do it. The other way is this is done with Gorilla Glue. So I have Gorilla Glue in here. Gorilla Glue Clear, not the original Gorilla Glue, because that would be a disaster actually if you've ever used that. Expands a lot actually, so don't make that mistake. So there's just two different ways you can do it. This one hasn't been popped apart, but this has been used with Gorilla Glue. So there's other options to do it if you want to make sockets like this. I do the sockets because it's fairly easy and I can fit the hands in there. Now you could do other types of hands or whatever makes you happy, just as long as you're aware that you don't want to lock the joint up or anything. So that's what's going on with the sockets. So they're done, and as you can see, the Cotswold pegs just slide right in there, and it's nice and tight. So there you go. He's got a nice fist of fury, if you will. So we'll add these two hands to our guy here, our Super Joe Dragon figure. Now the next step in this chain of events is to add our Grunga Toys head sculpt. Now I went ahead and looked at the package. It comes in a nice package. It had a plastic bubble on there. It gives you explicit instructions on how to apply this head sculpt. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't always follow instructions. It's a problem of mine. I think if I was diagnosed with anything, it would be an inherent lack of instruction following. So, in the past, I always use a paint removing heat gun to take off G.I. Joe heads. Now, I don't recommend that. I don't think anybody else would recommend that, but I use it because I have developed a feel for when I need to take the head off before I melt anything. And I've done that with trial and error. So, case in point, I had one of those reproduction Guyperman bodies from Cotswold, and I was trying to take a G.I. Joe head off of it, and I melted the freaking neck post. So I learned my lesson. Those are $40 bodies. I was able to retrofit a new neck post on it, and the rest is history. This head here is like a resin style head, so I will definitely not use a heat gun on this. I'll use a hair dryer because I'm sure I would melt this thing. I don't even know how it would react to intense heat. And this is a $25 head, I think, so I don't want to waste $25. I've wasted $25 on other things like beer and cigars in the past, which those are much more enjoyable than damaging something. So I'm going to take this guy, hair dry him up, and pop him on the head, pop him on the body and the neck post, the one that I homemade kit bashed with a mold. This is basically, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, this is a mold and a cast of the muscle body neck post that I made, just a half-assed one. So. And then when we come back, we'll have the head on there, and we'll talk about clothing, and we'll finish this guy up. Okay, guys, welcome back. So, head went on great. Shout out to grungatoys.com and Cotswold Collectibles. Their directions worked great. I used the hair dryer on the highest setting and popped this head on. I don't think this head's ever coming back off, though, because these heads are pretty rigid. So this figure is got his head on for good. So unless he gets it knocked off in a kung fu fight, that's it. So now that we have the figure done, I'm going to use this pretty cool Bruce Lee inspired jumpsuit from Loucoporbonecos, one of the original ones Felipe did for Cotswold, as well as these pretty cool Dragon models, old Adidas tactical combat boots for his feet. Now my plan originally was to get some yellow tennis shoes, kind of like the Bruce Lee shoes from Enter the Dragon, but I really couldn't find any that would fit the Max Steel feet, and I didn't want to buy a pair and paint them, so I just came up with these combat boots. I think it'll work out pretty well. It's kind of my own take on this Bruce Lee Dragon figure. And to also mention, I used to have an Adventure Team patch on here, so there's kind of a smudge here from where I was glued on with fabric glue, so I will put a Super Joe patch over that. So we'll go ahead and get this guy dressed up and give him a couple accessories, and then we'll come back and show you the finished figure and have some final thoughts, guys. Okay, guys, well, here he is. This is my wrapped up Super Joe Dragon figure. Pretty cool. See, front, back, what he looks like. Finished fists, head mounted. The really cool Bruce Lee inspired Super Joe jumpsuit. The boots actually work out pretty well in my opinion. I think he's a great looking figure actually. He'll be a nice addition to my Super Joe Adventure Team line of figures, I think. So you can take a look at him. Pretty cool. The head works nicely. Fists look great. Now, the only thing I don't really like about these suits on the Max Steel bodies is some of them are a little tight, so there's a little bit of stretch in the waist. But what I might do is add a belt to him at some point. But other than that, I can't really complain about the way this custom turned out. These Max Steel bodies are really great for these jumpsuits because they're so muscly. They're also very sturdy, and they're also extremely posable. So they're easy to work with as well if you want to do your customs. That's the only type of body I use for my Super Joe figures when I make them. So hope you guys enjoyed this simple little custom project. Now stick around after I wrap this up because I've got something a little special for you. Of course, like and subscribe to the page. Hit the notification icon for my new content. Share these videos on your various social media platforms. And until then, next time, guys, cheers.